Hey guys, it's Eric here at Farpoint Farms. So if you've been following the channel for the last couple weeks, I've been giving you some of my thoughts and experiences over Hurricane Helene. And today's video is going to kind of be an extension of that as well, but it's more to answer a common question that I've been getting. I made some videos about the importance of AM radio during disasters and my thoughts on communication during disaster. And a lot of the comments circled back to the idea that Starlink, Elon Musk's Starlink two-way internet satellite setup was something that I should invest in or something I should look at. And it got me thinking about the question that really underlies that, and that is internet in a disaster a necessity or a luxury? And it's one that I struggled to answer accurately. I asked my wife about it right before coming up here this morning to film this so I could put it out same day, which is something I rarely do here on the channel. But it's something I've been thinking about all week because there's been just so many comments about it. So I guess it comes down for me that I think in our situation during this event that the internet was more of a luxury than a necessity. While there was information being piped in and out and people were able to communicate instantly on it, the information for those first few critical days was not there. And the reason for that was that anything that was going on locally was non-functional. There was no cell internet, there was no cell service, there was no internet, and there was no power. So much like I said in my video about two-way radio communications, the ham bands locally were fairly dead those first few days. CB, while not as dead as ham, was also fairly non-informative. And for our area, the information that was being transmitted, or the information that was being pushed around on the internet, on like Facebook forums or wherever you wanted to go, local forums for our area, which are few and far between, to be quite honest with you, because of how rural an area we live in to start, they just weren't really all that valuable. And I think that is likely to be the case in most events like this. If you're going to have a massive hurricane move through, or something of that nature that takes out a wide area, something that goes across Florida like Milton did, but maybe more on steroids, something like Katrina, something like Hurricane Fran, but in a modern era, something like Hurricane Andrew, but in the modern era, and these things came through, you're looking at such a large area that loses all infrastructure that the luxury of having the internet really wouldn't have made that much of a difference. You could certainly have gotten a message off to a loved one or to family and friends that live outside the effective area and say, hey, I'm okay, the house is okay, the critters are okay, the kids are okay, whatever. But I don't know that you would have been able to receive critical information right out of the gate from there. And it's been a little hard for me. So our internet was out for a little over a week. When it came back on, and I'm doing the research to decide whether this is just my opinion or was generally what I felt was going on in our area, I went back through the few areas that we have local conversations, Facebook groups that are localized to the area that I live in, and an actual website forum that is local to the area that I live in, to see what kind of information was being passed back and forth those first few days, those first 72 hours. And honestly, there just wasn't much. There were a few posts about roads that didn't exist anymore, but there wasn't a whole lot about emergency services, other than there were some complaints, haven't been able to reach so-and-so, haven't been able to reach this people, they aren't responding here, we haven't seen this. So there were some calls to action perhaps, but there weren't so many answers to be found during those first few critical days, which is much like I found with everything in this event. Our local AM radio station took about 2.5 days to come back online. Ham radio operators were mostly silent in my area because loss of power. They were focusing, if they did have generators, on keeping their food working as opposed to communicating information. What information can we communicate if we don't have any, other than, hey, this bridge is out or that road is out? There was very little to say. If we don't know where to find food or emergency services, then there's not really anything we can do to let the rest of the world know that. And so in my event, having a Starlink set up, or even if we had been somehow blessed and our internet never failed, we were able to power everything back up and the routers were all powered up and the internet was still there, it would have been a luxury. It would not have been a necessity, and it wouldn't have been a helpful luxury, if that makes sense. There wasn't anything that I was able to find online during those first few days that would have made a difference in our life personally, as opposed to any of the other forms of communication. And so this isn't a terribly long video, but I did want to really come on here and talk to you about it because there were so many comments, specifically about Starlink, but general internet questions in general, where you're like, would have internet have made a difference? Or don't you wish you had Starlink so that you would have had that? And in our case, I guess you could say, yes, I would have loved to have been able to let my mom know and my folks that are out of the area know we're okay, the house is okay, and all the rest. But there was no bit of information that I was able to find online that would have helped me, or would have helped my neighbors, or in that sort of thing, if that makes sense to you. Now, can I say that that's going to be the case for every disaster? Absolutely not. In the event of a national disaster, a lot of the equipment that I have would have made a huge difference long term. Your CB radio, your ham radio, weather band radio, shortwave radio in particular is more of a national or even international source of information. The internet is a great national source of information. When it comes right down to it, we think about a broad scale on a day, every day, but our actual circle of influence, our actual circle of needs is fairly local, like very local. And so the internet just isn't it's not a sharp edge point of information. It's just a place where we can communicate in a broader sense. Anyway, that's my feelings on the subject. I hope that you in the comment section will share your own experiences. Those of you who are back online now in Western North Carolina, I'd like to hear your thoughts on if you had active internet during all this, what you felt about it, how you used it to advance and like repair things quicker, get things back online quicker. I'm very interested in hearing that. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that. I hope you will chime in the comment section. And if you're a new subscriber here, I appreciate all the new commenters and all the new subscribers that the channel has picked up over this last month. It has certainly been an interesting time in my life, and I hope that you stick around. Till next time, my friends, take care.